So I'm here with Kevin Louden from Telestream. Kevin, thanks for joining me. And you are in the hot seat as our resident futurist, talking about what's beyond HD. So I think you had mentioned before that we're sort of witnessing the death of the film camera from the studio days, and we're going towards file-based.
Yes, unfortunately, yes. I mean, just in the last year, all three major film, camera manufacturers ceased producing their film cameras. They're still making cameras.
Are you sad?
But I am a little bit, but sad and happy. Excited, I guess. It opens up a whole new realm of filmmaking.
So I think, when you think of video sort of over HTTP, 8 years ago, it was making sure you could send something that somebody on their 56K modem could consume. So you're creating these little tiny thumbnail things. Now it's like, oh, we can stream 720p, through Hulu to somebody's desktop. But as sort of all these big flat screens and connected TVs are
next week, it'll be 1080p.
1080p. But we're talking about what's next. So tell me about the future of video.
So what might happen beyond that? You might be having 2K to the home. The screens are going to get bigger. The resolutions are going to be higher. Bandwidth is going to be more available to the home. So the file-based acquisition is going up in resolution. The distribution formats could also go up, certainly for like theatrical-like product. To the home, it could be higher than 1080p. That's what it's going to be next week. 2 years from now, it could be something else. And that's very exciting to me.
So a couple years from now, when I'm watching Hulu or Netflix through my Xbox or Google TV to my big flat screen television, you're sort of thinking that it could be a 2K experience.
It could be a 2K.
Surround sound audio.
Surround sound audio, higher resolution color. Yeah, exactly. DTS, Dolby, basically almost a full theater experience. A home theater experience, but streaming perhaps to the house instead of on a Blu-ray disc or something like that.
So what are the roadblocks to getting there? And what are sort of the challenges around producing for a 2K or 4K world?
Attention to detail becomes much more important. As we went down the production to distribution chain, you had to sacrifice detail along the way. When that happens, you have to have attention to detail the whole time, from the camera all the way to the living room. Then to me, that's cool. I'm a movie buff, so and unfortunately, I've spent a lot of my time watching highly compressed small pictures.
So you're like an aficionado who's suffering through crappy quality.
Aficionado of high compression, unfortunately. Yeah, and but I love film and I love filmmaking and I love the crispness of that image, and I'm excited for the future to see that come into this world.
So as a company that sells solutions to do all this stuff, how putting your company hat on, how are you sort of in your product development pipeline? What are you sort of thinking about?
We have our eye on that, especially as it goes up the production chain. Like I said, the film cameras are dead, but they're making files now. Those files may need to be transcoded. They may not, go from camera to editorial to effects to this to that, and then from that process to broadcast distribution and then web distribution. There's files. It's all throughout that whole chain. And like I said, attention to detail, higher quality. The files are bigger. The frames are bigger. It's going to take longer, need more powerful stuff. You need it to be faster, higher precision. So yeah, we've got our eye on that, and how are we going to make ourselves ready for that world?
What are some of the standards that are sort of being discussed right now that will sort of enable that whole world to explode, of sort of, very beyond high definition video being compressed down as much as possible?
I mean, H.264 I think still has a lot of the integrity to handle those things. farther up on the chain, there's a lot of talk about JPEG 2000 again. It was sort of something that got talked about, but it's coming back up again. Adobe, who's right next to us here, I can see, they have an initiative called Cinema DNG, which is sort of a standardized wrapper or file format for raw acquisition formats. DNG gets used in still a lot. It's sort of the most widely archived format for digital raw stills. They have a Cinema DNG initiative. Again, for all that file-based high-end acquisition stuff. So there's things like that going on. Higher precision formats, 10-bit processing, 16-bit processing, on up. So there's lots of different things going on. GPU accelerated things, hardware assisted and hardware accelerated processing. Again, huge frames, high color precision, lots of attention to detail. Those things take time.
What are some of the challenges content producers are having around, pushing their content out, not just to the web, but to those types of devices?
Yeah. Well, I don't think this will ever go away. There's like format and standard fragmentation. We as Telestream enjoy that. That's how we make our living, is supporting everybody's endeavors to keep the competitive edge, however you want to call it. There's always different ways of delivering the content. Like now we've got adaptive bitrate. We've got Adobe Adaptive, we got Microsoft Smooth, and we got Apple HLS. We're busy building tools to be able to support those. We just did a release of Episode, which has support for both Microsoft Smooth Streaming and Apple HLS encoding and packaging and delivering and all that. And that's how you get to those devices, iOS devices, Android. You can kind of create one package that can go everywhere from your phone to your living room. And you can, I love that AirPlay feature, on the iOS devices. I have an Apple TV at home, so I can start watching something and then put it up on my 50-inch television, and it switches quality.
Give me a name of one of your sort of bigger media clients for something like Episode, and then talk about sort of what issues they're coming to you with about pushing content out through all these platforms.
I don't know that I can mention names, but they all have a lot of common questions. One is perhaps the format du jour. I've got this new format. WebM came out. I need to make stuff for WebM. But a lot of them have two challenges. Some may be doing end distribution encoding themselves, but then also encoding mezzanine formats or master formats to give to somebody else, like iTunes or Netflix. Over the past 3 weeks, I've gotten multiple calls, emails, texts, chats about 422 10-bit H.264. Somebody out there has now, put that out as a delivery format for them. So, those are the type of things that happen all the time. I don't know who that is, but somebody out there is asking for 10-bit H.264, 422, high 10 sometimes. Those are so it's not only, can you make HLS because I want to deliver that to an iOS device. It's I need to make this high quality mezzanine or intermediary format to give to a Hulu or a Netflix or an iTunes, to get my content onto their service, because they're going to do the encoding to go to the end distribution format. So it's I get both of those.
Any other deep commentary you want to get out there?
No, I mean, we were talking a lot about the future, so I like where we're at. I like how far we've come, from postage to this, and I'm really excited to see what's going to happen next year and the year after that.
Great. Well, we'll see if all these predictions come true. Maybe not next year at Streaming Media, but like 2 years or 3 years down the road.
4K to the home.
Right. So when you're watching our 720p production on 4K, I apologize for that in advance, but by the time that time comes around, we will be shooting on
4K cameras.
Red cameras and whatever's
Exactly.
around that. Great.
Thank you.